Hey everybody, it is late at night and I am Norman. It is time for a bit more watch news. So let us begin. The first article I have comes from worldtempest.com. I'm actually not familiar with that site. And they wrote up a review of a Ralph Lauren square. These are square-shaped watches that have Roman numerals on the inside with small minutes markers along the outside of the dial. The Roman numerals are done in different font sizes. There's a square on the inside of these markers, and the only thing inside that square is the brand's name. They have Breguet-style hands, and the case is almost a picture frame type of shape, at least around the bezel there. What do I think of these watches? I think they're absolutely gorgeous. I love the super creative Roman numerals in there. That is so great. Not only are the hour markers done in different font sizes, but the 12, 3, 6, and 9, which are done gigantically, are Roman numerals, but the markers in between them are Arabics. I like the thin square outside of these markers, which separate them from the minutes markers, which are tiny along the edge of the dial. The dial is kind of a creamy white color. This is just such a great, creative, yet classy looking watch. Even though most of the markers are Arabics, the overall impression is just a really nice Roman numeraled square dress watch. The whole piece is very Art Deco-y looking. I think the only beef I have with this watch, the little circles on the Breguet hands are so tiny, they almost look like they're not quite proportioned right for the hands. I feel like if you're going to do Breguet hands, you need to size up those open circles just a little bit more. The classy $10 Fossil watch that I have also has hands like these, and that's a little bit distracting to me in that watch as well. The circles on the hands are just so tiny, they don't look quite right. Other than that, this watch is just brilliant looking. The next article I have comes from Worn and Wound, and this was an article on the Autodromo Digital watch. Even though I don't own any watches from this brand, I absolutely love Autodromo. Ever since I saw the Group B Series 2 in green, that awesome synth-wavy looking watch with the grid on the dial, I've loved this brand. And I actually have a search out there for one of those watches, and I've seen one or two come through. Of course, they aren't cheap. They're all around $1,000. So unfortunately, when they've come through, I didn't have the funds for them. But these digital watches are pretty crazy. They absolutely evoke the 1980s. They're available in 4 different colorways. One with a bright yellow case, the other 3 with different shades of gray for their case, and some different colors for the buttons on them. The digital display is offset a little bit, and the lugs are hidden on these watches. So, what do I think of them? I absolutely love these watches. However, they are a bit spendy. They retail for about $475. Yeah, are they worth it? Maybe? I would have to see one in person. I know that my buddy over at Illuminating Watches, I believe, picked one up, so I'm gonna have to keep an eye on his channel for a review of it. I don't think he's done one just yet. I actually found these right around the same time that I saw an announcement that he was looking at them as well. That was pretty cool. But yeah, I absolutely love the look of these watches. Back in the day when I was collecting sci-fi watches, yeah, I would have really been wanting to get one of these. I just don't know if I would be willing to pay that much for a digital watch. If that style of watch was my everyday wear, absolutely. But it is pretty cool seeing Autodromo go in this direction. And I feel like it really fits the brand's personality and interests, so very cool. The next article I have comes from Fratello Watches. And this was a pre-owned watch highlight where they were discussing the Blancpain Le Mans Ultra Slim. These watches are sort of a field watch meets an explorer meets something dressy. The author mentions a slight comparison to the Explorer in the article, and there's some great shots of the watch. It has a 30mm case on it, and it's super sleek, thin, and elegant looking. What do I think of this watch? I absolutely love this watch. What an amazing looking watch. I mean, just look at the wrist shots in this article. Oh, that is absolutely gorgeous. There's only one small problem, at least for me. If you can find this watch, it's gonna go for about $10,000. Ouch. Oh, but what an absolutely brilliant looking watch. I've never seen these before, but man, they look amazing. The next article I have comes from usawatchpro.com. And this article was a review of a revived Longines 1930s pilot watch. These watches have sort of a coin bezel, kind of like you see in some of the A11 watches, but it also has a cushiony case outside of that as well. It has aged-looking markers on it, simple pencil hands, and a sub-seconds complication on it. The hour markers on this watch are very field watch as well, and the crown is tucked away between some crown guards. What do I think of this watch? I'm actually really intrigued by this case design, and I don't know why. Every time I see pictures of this watch, I just can't stop staring at it. Something about the combination of that coin bezel and the cushiony, scallopy case outside of that, it just makes for some very intriguing elements to the overall case itself. I really like the dial. It's very vintage field watch style. So great looking. But there are a couple major problems with this watch. The first problem is it is nearly $4,000. Ouch. And the second problem is really mostly just a problem for me. It is 43mm in size. I realize it's a pilot's watch, so a larger case makes perfect sense, but that is a big beast. But seriously, that case is just so interesting to look at. It's crazy. I don't even understand. The next article I have also comes from usawatchpro.com, and this article was a photo tour of the Moonswatch factory. So apparently Swatch has released some images of the Moonswatch factory that depict white-gloved individuals carefully placing straps onto these watches, inspecting and cleaning dials, manually and very carefully, placing the batteries into these watches. What do I think of this article? Moonswatches? Still? So weird when I saw this article. I thought to myself, we're still talking about Moonswatches? I thought the hype was long gone. And secondly, is this really how it's done? I'm pretty sure that Moonswatches aren't carefully hand assembled quite like this. I feel like this is just marketing. I could be wrong though. According to this article, the demand is still racing far ahead of the production, which is so weird. I guess that explains why I'm still seeing YouTube videos about these watches, articles about these watches. Apparently people are still talking about Moonswatches. That is so weird. The next article I have comes from Monochrome Watches, and this was a review of a Jacob & Co. roulette watch. These are watches designed to actually look like a roulette table, and in typical Jacob & Co. fashion, you can actually play roulette on them. And also, in typical Jacob & Co. fashion, these watches are $280,000. What do I think of these watches? As far as Jacob & Co. goes, these watches are so minimal. I actually really love the idea of these watches. They look pretty great. I feel like the gold tone case is perfect for that roulette table. I like the hands and the markers in the dial, which is actually a sub-dial inside the roulette wheel that surrounds it. The back of this watch is really cool. You actually wind it and set the time using fold-out mechanisms that are kind of akin to the Space View. And it's kind of cool how they put the tourbillon on the back of the watch, so it doesn't interfere with the design. However, if you want to stare at it, you could take your watch off, flip it around, and gaze lovingly at the tourbillon. That roulette complication, that is really weird to say, is just absolutely amazing. That is so cool. One thing that I have to say about Jacob & Co., as crazy as they are, as gaudy as they are, as crazy expensive as they are, it's really cool how much fun this brand has with their designs. That's pretty cool. And the last article I have discusses the possibility of setting up time zones on the moon. This comes from a forum entry on watchprosite.com. And the post itself reads, I heard on the radio this morning that consideration is being given to give the moon its own time zone. This would standardize the time on the moon, as currently the country doing a space trip or lunar landing uses the time zone of their originating country. This would make the time on the moon the same for all countries. What do I think of this? That is a crazy idea. I never even thought of moon time zones. However, some of the responses point out that the South Pole works that way as well. Countries that go to work in the South Pole use their own time zones as reference. So I'm not sure this is really necessary. Maybe if it actually does become a problem somehow, then we can address it. Why address it now if everything's just kind of working okay? I don't see any problem with countries using their own time zones while they're there. Very similar to the South Pole. But what do I know? Alright, you are now caught up in some of the watch news that's going on out there. Thanks for watching.